The mahogany door slammed so hard the Swarovski chandelier trembled. "Who do you think you are?" Victoria Chen's voice could have cut diamonds. Her Louboutins clicked against Italian marble like gunshots as she advanced on the elderly man holding her phone. "That was a private line, private. Do you have any idea what you've just cost me?" The janitor, maybe 70 with hands that trembled slightly as he extended her phone, took a step back. His gray uniform seemed to shrink him further. Sorry, ma'am. It was ringing and ringing. I thought maybe emergency." "You thought?" Victoria snatched the phone from his weathered hands. "You are paid to clean, not to think. Not to touch my things. Land. Certainly not to answer my calls in whatever backwoods language that was." Around them, the sleek Manhattan office had gone silent. Young executives froze mid-step. The hum of ambition that usually filled Chen Industries' top floor evaporated, replaced by the kind of quiet that precedes something breaking. It was Georgian, ma'am. His voice was soft, dignified, despite the humiliation coloring his weathered face. The person on phone, she was speaking Georgian. She sounded very upset, so I don't care if she was speaking ancient. Sumerian Victoria's perfectly manicured finger jabbed toward the elevator. "You are done. Collect your things. Security will escort you out." The old man nodded slowly, his eyes holding something that looked almost like pity, not for himself, for her. As he turned to leave, Victoria's assistant, Marcus, appeared at her elbow, his tablet screen reflecting the fluorescent lights. "Miss Chenthat, was Miriam Tseratelli on the phone, the Georgian Energy Minister's chief advisor? She's been trying to reach you for 3 hours about the Batumi contract." Victoria's blood turned to ice water. The Batumi deal, $800 million, 18 months of negotiations. The contract that would either make Chen Industries a global energy player or confirm what her late father's partners whispered at his funeral, that she was too young, too impulsive, too American to handle the empire he'd built. The contract that was supposed to be signed tomorrow in Tbilisi. "Get her back on the line, now!" "I've tried 6 times. She's not picking up." Marcus's voice carried the carefully neutral tone of someone delivering very bad news. "But she did send a text in Georgian. Getting it translated." Victoria's hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against her desk, against the cool glass that had once been her father's. 3 years since he'd died. 3 years of 16-hour days of proving herself, of swallowing her grief and wearing it like armor. And now, on the eve of her biggest deal, she'd screamed at an old man for trying to help. The translated text arrived after today's disrespect. "Georgian Energy Commission is reconsidering partnership. Mr. Lomidze's treatment reflects Chen Industries' values. Contract on hold, Mr. Lomidze." The janitor. Victoria's legs nearly gave out. "Find him before he leaves the building." But the elevator had already descended. She ran. Victoria Chen, CEO of a $3 billion corporation, ran through her own lobby in $600 heels, her Armani suit jacket flying behind her like a cape of desperation. Security guards startled. The receptionist's jaw dropped. She caught him at the revolving door, 1 foot already on the New York sidewalk. "Mr. Lomidze, please." She was breathless. "Please wait." He turned, and up close, she saw him clearly for the first time. Really saw him. The deep lines around his eyes weren't just from age, they were from smiling. His worn hands had built things, held things, mattered to people. The name tag on his uniform read, Georgi Lomidze, 15 years service. 15 years. He'd been cleaning her floors since before she'd taken over. Before her father died. Maybe he'd even cleaned them when she was still a junior analyst. Too ambitious to notice the people who emptied her trash. "Mr. Lomidze," pride wrestled with panic in her throat. "What did she say? Miriam, what did she say to you?" His eyes held that same gentle pity. "You want me to tell you now, after?" "Please." The word came out broken. "Please, I'm begging you." Something shifted in his weathered face. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small notebook, the kind maintenance staff used for supply orders, but this one was filled with Georgian script. She was crying, he said quietly. She said the contract signing tomorrow, it was supposed to be on her mother's birthday, her mother who died last year. She said she needed to move the meeting to Thursday because she cannot, she cannot bear to do business on this day. Too much grief still. Victoria felt her throat close. She said she hoped you would understand, that she'd heard you lost your father, That maybe you knew about grief that doesn't follow schedule. He paused. I told her you would understand. That you seemed like woman with good heart who would not let business come before someone's pain. I told her I would make sure you got message, that you would call her back with kindness. The sidewalk seemed to tilt beneath Victoria's feet. I told her, Georgie continued, his English careful and precise, that in Georgia we have saying, a kind word is like a spring day. I told her you would give her that spring day. Victoria's vision blurred. When had she last cried? At the funeral? Before that? Why? She whispered. Why did you help me? My daughter, Georgie said simply. She is CEO too, in Tbilisi, big pharmaceutical company. When I came to America 20 years ago, I left her behind to build her life. I cleaned floors here so she could hire people there. I know what it is like to be young and powerful and scared everyone will see. You are just person underneath. His smile was sunrise gentle. And I know what it is like to miss your father every single day. Something cracked in Victoria's chest. The armor she'd worn for 3 years, the Ice Queen persona, the woman who couldn't afford weakness, it shattered on a Manhattan sidewalk while traffic roared. Past and the city pressed on, indifferent to small human moments. I'm sorry, she said, and meant it more than she'd meant anything in years. I'm so sorry. I know. He patted her arm like a grandfather, like her father used to. Now go, call Miriam back. Tell her Thursday's perfect. Tell her you light candle for her mother. Tell her you understand. Will you? Victoria swallowed hard. Will you come back upstairs, please? The next morning, Chen Industries staff arrived to find a memo from the CEO. Effective immediately, Georgi Lomidze was appointed Director of Cultural Relations, with an office on the executive floor. His first project? Training all staff in cultural sensitivity and the importance of every voice in the company. But that wasn't the part that made the news. On Thursday, Victoria flew to Tbilisi with Georgie beside her in first class. At the signing ceremony, she presented Miriam with a Georgian tradition, a gift of flowers and sweet bread. She'd learned the words in Georgian. Coached by Georgie on the plane, your mother's memory is a blessing. Miriam wept. They signed the contract. But first, they shared coffee and stories about fathers and mothers, about grief that doesn't follow timelines, about being young women in old men's industries. The photo that went viral wasn't of the contract signing. It was of Victoria and Georgie in the hotel afterward. Heads bent over his phone as he showed her pictures of his daughter's company in Tbilisi. Victoria was smiling, not her corporate smile, but something real and unguarded. The caption, written by Marcus, who'd learned his own lesson that day, the best deals aren't made by the biggest voices, but by the biggest hearts. 6 months later, Georgie retired. Not because he had to, but because his daughter surprised him with a ticket home. Victoria threw him a party that made the business pages, a CEO, honoring a janitor like a king. At the party, Victoria gave a speech. My father built this company on steel and ambition. But Mr. Lomidze taught me it survives on something else, seeing people. Really seeing them. The billion-dollar deal everyone's talking about? That's not what he saved. He saved me from becoming someone my father wouldn't recognize. She raised her glass. To Georgie, who answered a phone call and taught a CEO how to answer her own humanity. In the audience, young executives listened. Some would remember. Some would forget. But Victoria Chen never forgot the day. She almost lost everything because she'd stopped seeing the people who held her world together. Sometimes the most important voice in the room is the quietest one. Sometimes saving a billion-dollar deal means first saving yourself. And sometimes a janitor with gentle hands and a kind heart knows more about building empires than all the business schools in the world.